You're listening to the Vint Wine Podcast, where you'll hear interviews and stories from around the wine world. From writers and critics to winemakers and sommeliers, we'll explore the people and businesses who are instrumental in shaping wine culture. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of 5 Questions. In these quick conversations, we highlight the world-class writers, winemakers, and sommeliers featured on our full-length episodes in a quick 5-question format. We hope you learn a little bit more about the wine world and the people and companies that make it run. Enjoy. All right, we are here with 5 Questions with José Vouillamoz. Thanks so much for joining today.
Thank you.
All right, we'll dive right in. Question 1, what is your role in the wine industry?
Oh, big question. So we're not so many people in doing what I do. So I'm, as I say, an Oenologist. So I'm studying grape varieties through especially DNA profiling, but also history, globally genetic. I'm one of the leading authorities in the world about the origin of grape varieties through DNA profiling. And part of my role is to help wineries or wine regions to identify or authenticate unknown varieties, and also reconstructing the family trees to understand their origin by DNA profiling. In the same sense, I'm also a lecturer and speaker, helping wineries or wine regions to promote their varieties, either at wine events or wine fairs, or giving master classes, wine and dine. Also writing about those, as I'm writing books, but also articles or educational content. Always we keeping in my mind that I want to help bridge the gap between science and the wine trade. Science, I like to make it accessible to the general public, and it can be helpful for the wine trade to promote their product. I'm also a consultant, advisor for vineyard heritage projects, for example, or planting of new varieties, identify historical varieties, sometimes strategic guidance on grape varieties, and also recently a lot of questions about climate change. Climate is changing, which variety should I plant in my vineyard? So of course it's a case-by-case study, so you need to identify for each winery, each situation, which would be the best variety, which is tricky because it's a bet on the future. And when you plant a new variety, it's for 30, 40, 50 years at least. Who knows, first of all, what will be the climate in 50 years? And who knows what will be the taste of consumers in 50 years? So these are all the discussions that are really exciting to have with the wine business.
Yeah, certainly. Great. Well, on to question 2. What do you think the most important issue facing the wine world is right now? And judging by your answer, it might be climate change.
Of course, one of them is climate change. It's a long time that we speak about climate change in viticulture, but it's becoming more and more obvious. If you talk to wine growers, they tell you, I don't need science, I don't need a GIEC or anything. I see it in my vineyard, and I see it with the harvest dates. Of course, harvest date can be also influenced by a better management in the vineyard, less disease pressure because of the treatments. But globally, we observe this change in harvest date. So this is one of the main topics that worries the wine industry. And the other one is obviously the decrease in wine consumption worldwide. The new generation is drinking less and less wine, and everywhere on the planet. I hear wine growers speaking about wine crisis, be it in France, in Italy, also in Switzerland, also in overseas. Everywhere the wine industry is in difficulties because of the decrease of wine consumption.
Yep, we've heard that from a few folks now. Okay, on to question 3. What is one wine region or 2 that you think wine drinkers should know more about?
Of course, one is Switzerland. I have to say, not only because I live and I was born and I live in Switzerland, but I'm convinced that they make fantastic wines that are at the international level, up to the standard of all the other famous wine regions. So discover Swiss wines either by visiting Switzerland or trying to find some of the bottles abroad. It's worth it. So people will not be disappointed. And another one that I like very much that is a little bit under the radar because it has famous neighbor. The neighbor is Georgia. And the wine region I'm thinking of is Armenia. Armenia is developing more and more wines of international level. I first visited Armenia in 2003 when the wine industry was still recovering from the communist era of the ex-USSR. And unfortunately, I say unfortunately because the USSR had decided that Georgia would make wine and Armenia would make brandy. So they have pulled out a lot of vineyards for winemaking and they have planted either hybrids or varieties producing high yields for brandy making. And they have lost a huge diversity in terms of grape varieties. They are starting now to recover them. And since 2003, I've seen a fantastic change in the wine industry in Armenia, mostly with people from abroad, so the diaspora, helping, funding wineries, making international quality wines. And a grape like Areni, 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 is fantastic. It's one of my favorite grapes. If you taste it blind and you pour this to some friends, depending on the wine, you can easily confuse it with a Nebbiolo. And you would think of a Barolo. They have no genetic link whatsoever, but they have the same quality. And Tim Atkins, who is a very well-respected wine critic, without speaking with me, ranked Areni among his 5 favorite grape varieties.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is something we must be on the lookout for.
Nice. Well, I have one in my cellar at the moment, and I'm lucky here in Los Angeles. We have a big Armenian diaspora, so there's actually a lot of Armenian wine. So I'll check more out.
Yeah.
Great. Question 4. What is one current wine trend that you disagree with or don't like?
There are quite a few. I'm not an active supporter of natural wine. There are some fantastic natural wines, but there are many of them with a lot of logical defects that I don't want to drink. I'm not also a customer for no low wines, no alcohol or low alcohol wines, because they are using an artificial technique they are making wine and they are using a technique to take it out from the wine. So it's a additional technical process. And I know that some people would benefit from that, but I'm not a customer for that. And I'm not also in favor of calling it wine. But the most dangerous trend at the moment is what we call the denormalization of wine. I'm a member of the International Wine Academy, Académie Internationale du Vin, French-based academy. And we have recently released a manifest worldwide to the government that were participating to the United Nations reunion in September, in which we were advocating for wine not being only a molecule of alcohol. Wine is not only alcohol. It's much more than that. It's culture. It's source of joy, source of sociabilization, history, migration of people, contact. It's much more. It's 8,000 years of history in a bottle. So you cannot consider that this is only a molecule. And we want to, of course, we don't support people becoming alcoholic when we're not crazy. We support wine in moderation as a cultural product and not as a poison, because the World Health Organization has released comment to the United Nations saying that the first glass of alcohol is damageable to your health. And they only say alcohol, so they put together beer, wine, vodka, whatsoever. We want to emphasize the role of wine as a cultural product. And this is, for me, the most dangerous threat to the wine world, because we are risking of seeing wine becoming the devil. And we don't want that.
Yeah, definitely not. I'm a big wine history and telling the story and how it's so integrated into culture is my favorite thing about wine and my passion as well. So I'm completely aligned with that. Last question. What is one wine-related experience in recent years that stands out to you the most?
Well, there are so many, it's difficult to choose from. I was very honored to be awarded an international award by Mazzi, which is the biggest and most famous producer of Amarone in northern Italy. Also Valpolicella wines and Ripasso. They make fantastic wines. And each year they deliver an award for someone who did special contribution to the civilization of wine. And I was very happy to be the recipient of this award this year in close to Verona. So that was one of the wine-related experience that stood out for me.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this has been 5 Questions with José Vouillamoz. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Billy.